Chapter 10. An Invitation to London. Gandhi was, as always, very happy in prison, where he was allowed to spin and write non-political letters. But for Lord Irwin, Gandhi's arrest made life impossible. Indians were angry and ready to fight, and in some parts of the country they fought against the Raj, taking power from the British. The British Prime Minister, Ramsay MacDonald, had called for Indian independence, and he too wanted the problems in India to end. On the 26th of January 1931, Irwin released Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Motilal Nehru and other Congress leaders from prison. Gandhi wrote to Lord Irwin asking if they could meet, and on the 17th of February they began talks. Gandhi and Irwin met in the Viceroy's new palace, and their talks went on for 16 days. On the 5th of March, the Irwin-Gandhi Pact was signed. Gandhi agreed to stop the civil disobedience campaign, and he promised that the Congress would come to the second Round Table Conference in London in the autumn. The Congress had refused to go to the first conference in 1930, and it had been cancelled. The Raj agreed to release everyone who had gone to prison for civil disobedience, and it also now allowed Indians to make salt without paying high taxes. When they heard about the pact, some Indians were disappointed because there was no promise of independence or dominion status for India. But many felt that with the release from prison of tens of thousands of people, India had won a great fight. They believed that the pact showed equality between Britain and India, and between the Viceroy and Gandhi. On the 29th of August, Gandhi sailed from Bombay for the Round Table Conference in England. He arrived in London on the 12th of September and was met by crowds of people. While he was in London, he stayed in a community centre in the East End, a poor area of the city. It was a long journey to and from his meetings in central London, and he often arrived back late at night. But he wanted to live among poor people, and in the mornings he enjoyed walking near the community centre and talking to the men and women of the East End. It was autumn in England when Gandhi arrived, but he wore his usual loincloth with more cloths around him to keep him warm. He dressed like this when he went to Buckingham Palace to have tea with King George V and Queen Mary. After this meeting, someone asked him if he had had enough clothes on. "The king had enough clothes for both of us," Gandhi replied. Charlie Chaplin, the famous film actor, asked to see Gandhi. Gandhi also met General Smuts, his old enemy-turned-friend from South Africa, Lord Irwin, and hundreds of others. He spoke to the London Vegetarian Society, where he had been a member 40 years earlier, and gave many other talks. He visited some famous universities and schools, answered many letters, and gave many interviews. He was so busy that he only slept for about 4 hours a night while he was in London. Gandhi also went to Lancashire to meet textile workers. For many of them, life had become harder when Indians stopped buying foreign cloth. Some had lost their jobs. But here, like everywhere he went in England, Gandhi helped people to understand what was happening in India. He was always ready to talk to people, and because he was honest and kind, he made friends everywhere. Gandhi won the hearts and minds of the British people, but the Round Table Conference did not go well. The British had invited representatives from the princely states, and also Anglo-Indians, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, untouchables, and Parsis. All these representatives wanted a separate electorate. They wanted their national, religious or caste group to have seats in government that only people from that group could vote for. Gandhi was strongly against this. Anyone wanting to divide India in this way did not understand the country, he said. India was already too divided. Gandhi wanted a new, independent India, where Indians voted for Indians, and where religion and caste became unimportant in politics. He believed that India would only win independence if Hindus, Muslims, untouchables, and all the other groups worked together. There was no plan for Indian independence at the Round Table Conference, and Gandhi could see that British ministers, under their new government, were ready to come down hard on any campaign against the Raj. "I came looking for peace," Gandhi said as he left England in December, "but I am going back afraid of war." Stopping in Switzerland and Italy, Gandhi arrived home in India on the 28th of December. The friends who met him in Bombay had bad news. Jawaharlal Nehru and others from the Congress had been arrested, and because Indians in some parts of the country were refusing to pay rent, the government had made special new laws. The police were now allowed to arrest people and put them in prison without trial, take their homes and money, and stop peaceful demonstrations. Gandhi asked the new British Viceroy, Lord Willingdon, for a meeting, and told him that the Congress would fight against these new laws. But on the 3rd of January 1932, Gandhi himself was arrested and taken once more to Yeravda prison. All Congress organizations were closed, and almost all Congress leaders were put in prison. Indians fought against the Raj's special new laws, but Willingdon believed he could bring peace to India quickly with a hard hand. In January and February 1932, about 75,000 Indians were arrested, and hundreds of thousands were hit with lathis. It was the strongest and cruelest drive against Indian people since the Mutiny of 1857.